Hello, today we're going to look at Exodus chapter 10. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Go to Pharaoh, for I have hardened his hearts, and the hearts of his officials, so that I may perform miraculous signs of mine among them, that you may tell your children and grandchildren how I dealt harshly with the Egyptians, and how I performed my signs among them, and that you may know that I am the Lord." So Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and said to him, "This is what the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, says. How long will you refuse to humble yourself before me? Let my people go, so that they may worship me. If you refuse to let them go, I will bring locusts into your country tomorrow. They will cover the face of the ground, so that it cannot be seen. They will devour what little you have left after the hail, including every tree that is growing in your fields. They will fill your houses and those of all your officials and all the Egyptians with something neither you or your fathers nor your forefathers have ever seen from the day they settled in this land until now." Then Moses turned and left Pharaoh. Pharaoh's officials said to him, "How long will this man be a snare to us? Let the people go, so that they may worship the Lord their God. Do you not realize that Egypt is ruined?" Then Moses and Aaron were brought back to Pharaoh. "Go worship the Lord your God," he said. "But just who will be going?" Moses answered, "We will go with our young and old, our sons and daughters, with our flocks and herds, because we are to celebrate a festival to the Lord." Pharaoh said, "The Lord be with you. If I let you go along with your women and children, clearly you are bent on evil. No, have only the men go and worship the Lord, since that's what you have been asking for." Then Moses and Aaron were driven out of Pharaoh's presence. And the Lord said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand over Egypt, so that the locusts will swarm over the land and devour everything growing in the fields, everything left by the hail." So Moses stretched out his staff over Egypt, and the Lord made an east wind blow across the land, all that day and all that night. By morning the wind had brought the locusts. They invaded all Egypt and settled down in every area of the country in great numbers. Never before had they seen such a plague of locusts, nor will there ever be again. They covered all the ground until it was black. They devoured all that was left after the hail, everything growing in the fields, and the fruit on the trees. Nothing green remained on tree or plants in all the land of Egypt. Pharaoh quickly summoned Moses and Aaron and said, "I have sinned against the Lord your God and against you. Now forgive my sin once more, and pray to the Lord your God to take this deadly plague away from me." Moses then left Pharaoh and prayed to the Lord, and the Lord changed the wind to a very strong west wind, which caught up the locusts and carried them into the Red Sea. Not a locust was left anywhere in Egypt. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not let the Israelites go. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand toward the sky, so that darkness will spread over Egypt, darkness that can be felt." So Moses stretched out his hand toward the sky, and total darkness covered all Egypt for 3 days. No one could see anyone else or leave this place for 3 days. Yet all the Israelites had light in their places where they lived. Then Pharaoh summoned Moses and said, "Go worship the Lord. Even your women and children may go with you. Only leave your flocks and your herds behind." But Moses said, "You must allow us to have sacrifices and burnt offerings to present to our Lord our God. Our livestock too must go with us. Not a hoof is to be left behind. We have to use some of them in worshipping the Lord our God. And until we get there, we will not know what we are to use to worship the Lord." But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he was not willing to let them go. Pharaoh said to Moses, "Get out of my sight. Make sure you do not appear before me again. The day you see my face, you will die." "Just as you say," Moses replied, "I will never appear before you again." Well, that's the end of our reading, a reading where we've seen more plagues. The plague of locusts coming upon the people of Egypt, taking away all their food. But you notice that God preserved and protected his own people. You see with the plague of darkness, the darkness covered the land of Egypt, but the Israelite people still were able to see. I think a little bit that this plague of darkness is over our land at the moment, and very few people can see the light of Jesus, where Jesus said, "I am the light of the world," and Jesus came as that light within the darkness. Pharaoh's heart was hard. He did say that he would let them go, and then he changes his mind. He puts different conditions on it. And the next chapter is a very hard chapter indeed, where God decides then that all the firstborn children will be taken away in Egypt. Remember every day that God is an awesome and powerful God. When God moves his hand, things change. When we put our faith and our trust in him, things change in our lives. He gives us a purpose, he gives us direction, and he gives us a way that we should go. Thanks for listening today, and thanks for watching. Hope you have a really good day.